Each boss fight has its own unique mechanics that you will have to learn and at times require you to bring different units with different equipment or gear setups tailored for that specific fight. It can get overwhelming, so let's try to simplify it by having a generalized win condition. In order to win, we need to be able to survive the boss's attacks, weaken the boss so we can do as much damage as possible, power up or buff our units, and finally be able to deal the most damaging attacks to the boss. We can then start grouping units into roles that are able to fulfill these objectives. Units that help in the survivability of the team are composed of tanks and support units. Tanks are units tasked with covering your party from the boss's attacks. They are divided into two groups. Physical tanks provide cover from physical damage, while magic tanks provide cover from magic damage. Tanks can also apply spells that help reduce or mitigate damage from the boss's attacks. Support units cover a wide range of defensive and offensive actions. So let's go over the defensive side first. These are units that can provide buffs to your party's attack, magic, defense, and spirit stats. They are also units that can provide elemental resistances to your party, as well as heal, refill MP and HP, and fill up your limit burst and Esper gauges. Now let's go over the support units that help out on the offensive end. As I mentioned, one of the objectives in a boss fight is to weaken the boss, and units that accomplish this objective are debuffers or breakers. These units break or reduce the boss's attack, magic, defense, and spirit stats. Lowering a boss attack and magic makes the boss deal less damage to your party, while lowering its defense and spirit stats allow you to do more physical and magical damage to the boss. To do even more damage, you will apply an imperil or lowering an enemy's elemental resistances and applying an imbue to your party. Using the boss's elemental weaknesses allows your damage dealers or DPS units to do even more damage. Some units are also able to apply weapon imperils, which make a boss weak to a certain weapon type. An example is applying a katana imperil, allowing your katana wielding DPS unit to do more damage to the boss. And finally, we go to our damage dealers or DPS units. The most damaging attacks you can inflict to the boss come from combo attacks called chains, and limit burst attacks that do a single big burst of damage are called LB finish. Chain attacks are performed by two units performing an attack from the same chaining family at the same time. In this example, the attacks used by the units come from the Stardust Ray or SR family. I've left a link to the list of chaining families in the description below. What players usually do is use two of the same units when performing chain attacks, as it's easier to produce a clean chain. But you can use different units as long as they use the same chaining family. There are also units that can perform a chain by itself. These are called tag units, and the advantage of using this unit type is that it saves space in your team slot, since you only need one unit in order to perform a chain attack. I've also left a link in the description below of a chaining tutorial video that will help you perform chain attacks. LB finishers are most effective and damaging when you deliver the attack at the end of a chain combo. The timing of when to perform the limit burst depends on the unit you're using, but the general guideline that you can use is once the chain meter is full on the upper right corner, you can perform the finisher just as the chain combo is about to end. Make sure your finisher's limit burst gauge is full in order to be able to perform this attack. I've left a link to a tutorial video showcasing some units who are very powerful finishers as of this moment. Now that we've covered these roles, an effective team would then consist of tanks, support units that can buff, break, imbue, and imperil, and finally DPS units that can either create powerful chain attacks or do both chain attacks and LB finishers. You can now look at your pool of units and see which ones you have and which ones you lack. This will help you prioritize which units you need to pull for. Let's say you already have a good number of currently powerful DPS units and supports in your pool, Then you can start saving for a banner which features attack. Or you might already have a good defensive support unit, so now you can start looking for a powerful breaker. The challenge now would be finding units whose abilities can cover many of the roles mentioned and synergize well with each other to handle whatever boss fight you're planning to tackle. So I hope this helps you guys out, and remember to also keep in mind the mechanics of the fight you're planning to clear. An example would be if a boss uses magic attacks and is weak to fire, then you need to bring a magic tank in order to take in or cover all of the boss's magic attacks. You will also need a unit or units that can imbue fire to your party and imperil the boss with the fire element. So from there, let's take a look at this team. Here we have Shoreline Fina and Daisy, or Facey, who is a magic tank based on its abilities. This unit, Freedom of Seeker Van, can play the role of a breaker because he has abilities that can break the boss's offensive and defensive stats, and he can also imperil fire. Neo Vision Rain can be a good support for this fight because he can imbue your units with fire. Another example is what if a boss is physical based but weak to the water element? You can bring these three units for that specific fight. Gabrant is a physical tank that can cover your party from the boss's attacks. This unit, Locke, can be your breaker since he has an attack that reduces the boss's resistance to water, while this unit, Elena, could be useful in this fight because she can self-imbue the water element. She can also work well with Locke because they have attacks with similar chaining families. So there you go, a simple guide on building an effective team. I've left links below to some more in-depth team building guides. The units featured are old, but the ideas stay the same. If you're a beginner player, I hope that when you watch clear guides here on YouTube, you will be able to identify the roles each unit plays on the team used for those fights. Leave a like if you find this useful. Thanks for watching and enjoy the game.